Welcome to Staying Connected, a podcast where I talk to people about their stories with VEDS, Marfan, Loeys-Dietz, and related vascular and aortic connective tissue conditions. The views, information, and opinions in this podcast are those of the individuals involved, and the information presented does not constitute medical or other professional advice or services. Welcome back. Today we're going to talk to my brother, Jacob Frederick, about my recent medical events and our feelings and experiences during the hospital stay in November and since. This episode contains graphic conversations about pain and emotional distress. Please listen with care. Before we get into the interview, if you or a family member have VEDS, Marfan syndrome, or Loeys-Dietz syndrome, and you want to share your story on the show, I've opened the recording calendar for next season. Check out the episode show notes for a link to get on the schedule. I really look forward to talking with you. If you like this show and you want to help our communities raise awareness of VEDS, Marfan, and Loeys-Dietz, consider joining my Patreon. This show wouldn't be possible without the support of my subscribers there, so if you're already supporting the show, thank you. Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to the Jacob Frederick Show.
Damn it, that's what I was going to say.
Today, your host, me, guest star, Katie Wright. Katie, how you doing today?
I'm doing so good. How are you doing today?
Oh, this is fantastic. I'm doing so great. I'm so glad to be here. I'm glad you're here. We're in person today, everyone. Usually we do these remotely, but today we decided to be in person together.
Yep.
So we get to watch the tears fall from our eyes without any pixelation.
Fantastic. So we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah. Did you have an agenda?
No.
Oh, God.
So I have kind of like a mental idea of where to go.
Okay.
I don't know if the dogs are showing up in the background, but...
Those are studio dogs?
Yep, those are our studio dogs. You might hear our studio hamster.
Right.
At some point.
Yep. Might hear our studio John.
Right. Or we are doing the best we can.
Yep.
So I thought that we would kind of touch base on, well, the first thing I think that we should talk about is we recorded our last interview less than 2 weeks before I had an event.
Yep. Scheduled. Mm-hmm.
Right. And our interview went live after my event.
Scripted.
Yeah. So, like when I was listening back on our interview and doing the editing for it, I had already had my event and come home. But we were talking in the interview as if, we were talking about my previous events.
Right.
And so it was kind of weird listening back to it and being like, dang, all this shit came true.
It's a whole different person, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had a renal artery dissection.
What's renal mean?
Kidney.
Okay.
So the artery that provides blood to my kidney dissected.
What's that mean?
You know what that means.
I know now, okay, through trials and tribulations. But when this happened, I had no idea what the hell you were talking about. So What are you talking about?
The artery that provides blood to my kidney, the inner layer of that artery wall tore and created a blockage to part of my kidney. And because that part of my kidney did not have blood flow, that part of my kidney died.
That is very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
For dumbing that down for me.
No problem.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Yeah.
And then while I was in the hospital, I also had a gallbladder attack and then an iliac artery dissection, which is very similar to how a renal artery dissection works.
But what's iliac mean?
It's the name of the artery that kind of goes between the aorta and the femoral artery. So your aorta is the biggest blood vessel in your body. It comes out from the top of your heart and then down through your abdomen, like through your chest and into your abdomen. And then it splits off into these arteries called the iliac arteries. It branches out. You have a left and a right iliac. And then the iliac arteries kind of go through the groin and down into the legs where they turn into the femoral arteries. which are the arteries that provide blood flow to your leg.
Your knee bone's connected to your thigh bone.
Yeah, I mean, if you think I try to remember like the femoral, like a femur.
Oh.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so your iliac artery dissected.
Yes.
And I just learned recently that means that the layers came apart and there was a blockage there.
Yeah, caused by, there's a flap, and then there's also like clotting inside.
Okay.
It's like scar tissue and stuff.
And the iliac is a major artery in your leg.
Yes.
And so that would mean that your leg is getting less blood.
That is correct.
Whew, I'm so good at this. Okay,
Yeah.
so Dr. Jake here. When you've got less blood in an area, I obviously know what happens, but can you tell us what happens?
Yeah, so you don't have enough blood flow for the activity that maybe you're doing. So at rest, I have enough blood flow, but when I start walking, I do not. And so my pain, like my leg starts to feel very achy and painful, and that is called claudication pain.
Why is it called claudication pain?
I just think of clotting. I don't know if that's true, but I always think of clotting.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what happened. November 4th, I had this renal artery dissection, went to the hospital, was there for a couple days, got discharged, had to come back. And then I had all this other stuff. And you were there.
I mean, you told the whole story now. So thank you so much for
You're
being
welcome.
on the show. That's a wrap. I don't want to talk feelings. Okay, so take us though there to their place that you day one.
I want to talk about your experience in this.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, go ahead. Then we'll pretend this is your show.
Love you.
Thanks.
I love you. Thanks.
I'm not ready to say it back.
All right. So there were some things that I noticed, like I was more cognizant of during this experience that I didn't know about you before because we had done our interview.
I was exposed.
Yeah. So let's talk about the actual experience of getting the call and like getting into gear. Like, what was it like for you?
Okay. You're going through a normal day and you get a call that changes your day.
Yeah.
And I think everyone that has been through an experience sort of recognizes that that's sort of what it is, right? You look at your phone, see a voicemail, you play the voicemail. Hey, it's Katie. I'm in the back of an ambulance. My kidney hurts, right? I'm like, okay, it's go time. And I think previous to this experience was the spleen was sort of the last big one,
Yeah.
right? Where you were in the hospital, I think like a day or
6 days.
6 days, yeah. A day, yeah, 6 days. But it wasn't nearly as dramatic as this one. And so I think getting this call, I came into it ignorantly. I expected 6 days in the hospital, no pain, whatever.
Yeah.
But I didn't immediately go to the hospital. If I remember correctly, Jon was there.
Yep.
Jon was there. And he was sort of holding it down.
Yeah.
Because we didn't know what was going to happen.
Right. I knew I was going to be admitted. I knew knew going in that my kidney had infarcted.
Right. Yeah. What's infarcted mean?
When it doesn't have enough blood flow.
We talked about that. No, that's called
the organ's dying.
That's called
claudication pain is when you're like you have pain in the muscle from exercising at a point where you don't have enough blood flow for that.
And infarcted means your organ's dying.
Yeah, pretty much, or that it didn't receive enough blood flow. Okay. So actually, the official name for a heart attack is a myocardial infarction.
Oh, so it's the myocardial infarction.
Yes.
Wow.
So the heart is the myocardial.
Yeah, the
mitochondria.
Part of
that. And the infarct is the heart attack. The heart has a blockage or something. It's not getting what it needs.
Okay. So going back to your question.
Yeah.
Which was something along the lines of what was it like getting a call?
Or just like the first day or any other? Yeah.
I think the first day was a mix of denial, like, oh, it's going to be okay, just like it was last time, and sort of waiting for updates, right? Updates from Jon, updates from Mom, and so as I think the longer that time went on and the more information we got, the worse we realized, or I realized, this was going to be.
Yeah.
And it was, I think it was on the call with Mom where she's just like, Jake, Katie's in so much pain, right? I'm like, shit, this is different, right?
Yeah.
This feels different from the last time.
Yeah, last time I was calm.
Yep.
Like, I was in pain, but it was manageable.
Yep.
And I knew I was bleeding internally, but like I could manage the pain and it wasn't ongoing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, I think when I called Jon to check in, because I'm like, hey.
Oh, yeah.
How's it going? What you need, right? And I heard you shouting in the background, right? Just like wailing. It just plea for help.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Right? I guess there's only really so many things that you can do when you're in pain. And one of the ones is plea for help. And I think in that situation, that's exactly what that sounded like, a plea for help.
Yeah.
Stop feeling feelings.
Okay, but I'm feeling feelings.
Stop
too.
it. No feelings. So then it's like, okay, what do you need? Right? You have a dog, you've got a cat, you've got a leopard gecko, you've got a hamster, right? Okay, what can I do? What can I do? Right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, at that point, in my situation, it was forcing myself into the arena, if you will, right? Because there's nothing going on at the hospital.
Right, we're just waiting.
Just waiting. And when you're waiting, it doesn't feel like anything needs to happen. So, but I think that's when, I don't remember the exact timeline of events, but I think that's when I called Mom. It was like, I think you need to come.
Yeah.
Right? You need to be here. There's nothing for you to do, but it doesn't matter. Just being present
helps.
Right? Which is something that we talked about in our last episode.
Yeah.
When you were on the show. So, so I think that was the start of it, right?
Yeah.
Was communication, judging the situation, recognizing it's different this time.
Yep.
And then taking action.
Yeah. So there was only one night in the hospital that I stayed by myself, and that was the first night. And I was in so much pain that I was screaming through the night, and they had forgotten to put in the order for my pain meds. So when I was transferred from the ER to the admitted wing, whatever it was, I don't know what wing I was in, they had given me Dilaudid in the ER, and that had helped immensely. I was able to take a nap, and I was stable. And then they forgot to put the pain meds in, and they didn't put Dilaudid in even when they did restart the pain meds. But for the first few hours, I was inconsolable. And the nurse kept giving me ice packs and lidocaine patches, because those were the only things that were available in my chart.
I think that was a couple of days you spent like that.
Well, that was the first day. And then after that, I wouldn't stay by myself. I remember calling Jon at 6 a.m. I called Mom in the middle of the night screaming. I'm like, I'm in so much pain. I was bawling, and I felt terrible for calling her like that, because then she got really sad, and it was a whole thing, and she's begging them to help me on speakerphone, and it was a hard night. And then after that, I called Jon, I said, I can't be here alone, and I'm sobbing. I cannot be here alone, because I wasn't getting the help that I needed. It was different from before. And that's when the doctor came in and was like, hey, I forgot to put the pain meds in your chart. I'm so sorry. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. And then they started the oxycodone, and it just made me itchy and didn't even touch it. It didn't touch it at all. And they just kept letting it escalate to the point where I needed another CTA, because I was screaming and inconsolable at 6 o'clock in the morning.
What is CTA?
CTA is you're going to test my...
It doesn't matter what its name is. Okay. What does it do?
I think it's a computed to something. Yeah. So it's an image, kind of like an X-ray. It uses radiation, but it's an imaging modality it looks at the arteries.
And it makes you want to pee?
Yeah, when you first take the contrast, it does. It makes you feel like you peed your pants.
Okay.
Yeah, so then, so after that, y'all came, and I was in excruciating pain for the next, like it stabilized, and then I had to be readmitted because more of my artery dissected, and then I was in more excruciating pain, and it was just like the worst. But you were there.
At some point.
Yeah, at some point. Like I wrote down as much as I could remember, like right after the hospital stay, but I remember you being there a lot.
I was there a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember you being there through that really, really incredible amount of pain when the Dilaudid would wear off, or they didn't give me enough of it, or whatever. They took away the pain pump, and that was a bad decision.
Well, I think the general flow of pain here. ER did it right, gave you Dilaudid, and it worked.
Yep.
Then you were admitted for like long-term ward. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
And they stopped pain treatment, which is like the dumbest thing that they could have done.
Because they were worried about my bowels perforating.
I don't care.
Yeah.
My perspective, this was a dumb decision.
I think so too.
Right. Because your blood pressure is high, and you were convulsing, vomiting, bile, right?
Yeah. Like I couldn't.
You couldn't get any pill, and they kept trying to give you pills.
Right.
And you just throw them up.
Yeah.
And you were throwing up before they gave you the pills. You're like throwing up. They're like, hey, Katie, can you take your pills? Blah! Right?
Right. And I was in so much pain.
Right.
I couldn't keep much down at all. And
it gets into a cycle.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't remember what the date is. So sorry, everyone who's like taking chronological notes here. But one of the nights, it looked really promising. The doctor came in, the pain doctor came in. They're like, hey, we're going to put you on a pump.
It's
going to be Dilaudid. And we're like, thank God.
It was like 4 or 5 days in.
This was like 4 or 5 days in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're like, great, it's going to get better, right? Mm-hmm. Positive thoughts and feelings. Nope, she didn't put it in. And the nurses were like, you have no pump or anything in your charts, right? Let's keep going with Tylenol. And
I was on Tylenol, muscle relaxer. I was not on an anti-inflammatory because I can't be on that. So they also had me on gabapentin. They had me on those hydroxyzine injections. I want to talk about that, but not right now. Mm-hmm. And later in this interview, we can talk about that.
Okay.
But they had me on hydroxyzine for pain.
That was hydroxyzine it's sort of like Valium, isn't it? It's more for psychological stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I see your face.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
let's make your pain go away with drugs that affect your brain.
I was supposed to see pain management on that Wednesday. I was readmitted on Tuesday. This might have been Tuesday. It might have been Wednesday. Probably Tuesday. Pain management was supposed to come and didn't. And they ended up sending psychiatry in. And he talked to me about my anxiety. I'm like, my anxiety is fine. I'm in excruciating pain. Mm-hmm. Like, I just really need pain management. I'm horrible. And I don't think I communicated that as clearly as I can now because, again, I'm like vomiting, screaming, crying, cannot. Like, the amount of pain was unbearable. And I think at one point I told Jon, like, I just, like, they need to help me or I want to die. Like, I was in so much pain. And so then he left and I was like, okay, somebody's going to help me. And he had prescribed hydroxyzine injections, which I later find out was for anxiety. And he had told me that he thought it would help with my pain, but then later it was entered in my chart as I was given it for extreme anxiety. And I felt so betrayed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because what I really needed was pain management.
Yep. It sort of epitomizes dramatically, I think, a fear a lot of people have, which is if you ever go into psych ward, you're never coming out.
Right. Yeah.
Which you had no reason
to
talk to psychiatry.
I didn't, no.
Right. But this does not validate what they did.
Right.
But you're really bad about telling people how much pain you're in.
Oh, I don't think that I was bad at it this time.
You were bad at it this time. Yeah,
I do
on
know
a
what you're
scale of
talking
1
about.
to 10, how bad are you? And you're barfing and you're like, I think it's a 6. I'm like, Katie, where is 10 for you? For real.
Okay, here, let me tell you why.
Okay.
I told Mom this in the hospital too because she brought it up with me after a few days. And I kept asking I told them, I'm like, I'm bad at the numbers thing. Could you please provide me the picture of the faces?
They never did.
And they never did. It was like after I got the pain pump, they're like, oh, by the way, here's the thing. And it's like 3 days later.
Yeah.
Because I told them, like, I'm bad at the numbers. My family is telling me I'm bad at the numbers. Like, I really need to see the faces. And what I told Mom is that I can always imagine worse pain. It doesn't matter how much pain I'm in. I can always imagine it being worse. And so that, to me, it's a 6. I can imagine that it could get worse. And so it's not a 10.
Yeah.
But when I look at the picture of the faces, I'm like, oh, wow, this was a 10. Like...
Idiot.
Yeah. I know better now.
Yeah.
Like, don't compare it to the other ones or how bad you think it could be. Like, if you're screaming and crying and vomiting because you're in so much pain, Katie, it's a 10.
Well, I think someone also, and just to put this on the register of pain for other people, I think a nurse told you that losing a kidney was worse pain than giving birth.
Yeah, that it's like comparable or worse, depending on the people like who have completed. I think there's actually a survey or something out there that has included people who have given birth as well as, who have also had a kidney infarction, and some of them have said that it was worse, like their kidney infarction was worse than their liver.
So imagine giving birth with a lidocaine patch and some ice.
Yeah, that pissed me off.
Yep.
Yeah, I was mad.
Yep. I mean, there's a lot of anger. There's a lot of emotions.
Yeah, I mean, I was mostly really sad about it, and also mad the more I thought about it after I got home. So, that night you were talking about the pain.
Oh, the lies they told us. And the hope they gave us.
Oh, yeah.
Only to
That's right.
pull it out from under us.
And
How fucked up is that? How fucked up is that?
It was horrible.
And this was like, so this is one of my overnights in the hospital with you, right? Vomiting, convulsing, you can't sleep.
Oh, no.
I can't sleep, right? The room is extremely dry. I remember feeling like I had been in a desert.
It was 85 degrees in that room.
It was 85 degrees in the room because no one knew where the thermostat was, I guess, but we found it. We turned it down. But my cot was right next to the heater, right? So it was a really miserable night. And then to give us hope like that was a really fucked up thing to do.
Yeah.
Right? To give you hope like that.
Oh, yeah, I needed relief.
Yeah.
I really, really needed relief.
What the fuck happened? What?
I don't know where the breakdown was.
Where did those drugs go? You know what I think? This is okay.
Does this need a disclaimer? What you're about to say?
No, I'm sure you've already thrown some in the intro. So one of the things that I do really well at work is, and my team will like debate me on this. Okay, so just let them debate me on this. One of the things I think I do really well at work is operational efficiencies. Right, something that I learned at a previous company, trying to bring it to my new company. And one of the things that I realized, looking from the lens of operational execution efficiency, is hospitals are incredibly inefficient with the way that they communicate and deliver drugs. I watched nurses come in with 6 bags, scan their bag, scan their badge, scan the bag, scan their badge again, scan another bag, scan their badge, scan the bag, scan the badge, scan the bag, right? Over and over and over and over. And by the time that they're done with that, they've already lost track of what your actual care needs to be.
Right.
And they're not even listening to you because they're going through all the required steps to make sure that you don't get something that you're not supposed to get, which I totally understand. I understand security in depth. I understand making sure that you're not supposed to get something, right? Or whatever. But even then, when they were giving you medicine, you had to tell them no ablation. And ablations are dangerous for you. No, what's the word? Where they clear your IV.
Oh. No, they can clear my IV. I couldn't have IV bolus.
Bolus, not ablation. Okay.
Yeah.
So that you even then you had to tell them no bolus, right? Which is a risk for someone in your position.
I don't know how many days in a row I had to tell them I couldn't take the Senna medication.
Didn't stop until the end.
Right.
The whole time.
They kept bringing me Senna
Scanning, bring you the wrong drugs, whatever, trying to kill you with ablations, right? Right?
No, they didn't. The nurses did not give me an ablation.
Exactly. Why?
Because it's not an ablation, it's a bolus.
Damn it. They tried to kill you with a bolus. Every nurse tried to kill you with a bolus.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Because I was dehydrated from vomiting.
I don't know, but you told them no bolus every time.
Okay, when they came for the IV.
Every time.
Yeah.
So someone giving birth to a kidney with no pain medication, having to tell the care team how to deliver medication to them.
Yeah, that was your situation. When you put it that way.
Right?
Yeah, that is the situation.
Between vomits, you're telling them no bolus. I got the word right that time.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think about this a lot, and I think about whether or not it's fair for me to say that they weren't giving me any pain medicine when they did eventually start giving me the gabapentin and the muscle relaxer and everything but what I needed. But those things are for pain, and so I'm just like, did they not give me pain medicine, or did they give me inadequate pain management? I mean, I didn't see pain management until several days in.
Yeah, and we had to hunt them down.
Yeah.
Jon and I would walk the halls looking for anyone, and we were telling them, and we were getting upset.
Yeah.
That we needed a pain management team. We were told 2 days ago that you're supposed to have a pump.
Yeah.
For pain, and you never did. And finally, we found someone that would listen.
Yeah.
Right. And they got the pain team. The pain team showed up, and within an hour, right? I think I even heard once someone of authority said, "Get Katie a pump, stat." There, I heard him run down the hall. It was like that. So you could have had that 4 days prior.
Oh, now that makes me really mad.
Right?
Yeah, I didn't know that you guys counted them down and that somebody went stat and got it.
We were.
When it could have been stat at the beginning.
Yep.
It should have been. It was, the pain level was so ridiculously high.
Yeah.
I mean, but so I don't know. I mean, nurses out there listening to this podcast, like if your patient is telling you a 6, but they're screaming and vomiting and crying and can't sit still, do you believe that's 6? Or do you say, this patient doesn't know what they're talking about, they're obviously in a higher pain than they don't know how to read the scale?
That's where I think the point of failure was.
Yeah.
Because if
it was so obvious.
It was so obvious, but at some point it becomes part of the process.
Right.
Right. And I think the process fails when the patient doesn't know what number to give to get the output result that they need.
Yeah.
So it's again on the patient to use the system, to know the system,
right,
and use the system to get what they need. But then will you be labeled as a junkie if you know what to say?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it's hard.
There are a few times that Jon and I were debating whether or not to go to the street corner and pick up some crackhead level drugs for you. Ketamine. I mean, you can just get on the streets. Walk up with a $20 bill, you get a little ketamine.
I'm so glad you didn't do that.
Me too. I probably would go to prison. But when someone that you love is screaming in pain, howling, right? You'll do anything. So there was definitely a point where I was like, okay, I'm really close to go getting some street ketamine. I don't know what's in it. I hope it's ketamine. I don't do drugs. I don't know how to buy drugs, but I'm pretty sure I'd figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're in Seattle. I mean,
I'm in Seattle. It's like right down the street. Right. Like literally every block has ketamine.
So there was a night where it might have been the same night you're talking about. It might have been a different one because there were so many nights like this where I had like gotten up and started dry heaving into the bag, and like I remember being kind of over, I think I was trying to get back from the bathroom, and I was heaved over, like couldn't barely make it to the bed. I was heaving and screaming, and it was terrible. And I remember after that you said something like, these are the words I remember: so much pain. And then I remember you saying that you might need to step out, or that you had thought about stepping out because it was so much pain to watch. So
yeah, I'll fill in the blank there.
Thank you.
Okay. I can have a vasovagal reaction to things. I've never had this in my life. You know, I had it during my second COVID vaccine. I was just sitting in Walgreens, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'm going to die, right? Because I didn't know what it was. At some point, something broke in my brain. So I don't know when it was, but when I have pain, I can feel it. I can feel the response coming from the back of my neck up into the top of my head. And that's a signal to me, you better find somewhere stable.
Because you're going to pass out.
Because you're going to pass out.
Yeah.
Or close to passing out. And when it was a mix between anger and sorrow and fear and whatever, right? Strong emotions. When you came out of the bathroom, you heaved over, the nurse was not helpful. You got yourself back in bed. The nurse was like, do you want some more ice? And I felt that creeping up in the back of my neck to the top of my head. Like, I want to pass out. This is too much.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're always thinking about the alternative, right? We came into the situation, standard situation. Oh, it's just her spleen again. Oh, it's just a kidney. She's got 2 of them. It's fine, right?
Yeah.
But when you're that deep with, sleep deprivation, trauma from hearing just the sounds that you made, right?
They were horrible.
Horrible. Sort of that other situation started coming up. I couldn't take it. I was like, okay, I got to sit down for like 5 minutes. So I moved my ass to the chair and sat down. I was like, okay, I'm just going to wait this out, see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was so grateful that you were there for all of the, I don't know how many nights. It feels like all of the nights, but I know Mom took some of the shifts and you took some of the shifts. And I think between the 2 of you, I sure hope I'm not forgetting somebody that stayed the night. I think it was the 2 of you taking turns.
I think eventually we got to 3 shifts. I think, yes, she and I would do overnights and John was doing days.
And then during the day, John did it. Jeannie took a shift.
She took a day shift, so I go to work.
Yep. Yeah. Man, I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. It was such a blur.
Yep. If we are.
I love you.
Yep. We're sorry.
Really, really sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so after... What was interesting to me is that this experience was worse, even though I knew I wasn't going to die.
I mean, how could you be so sure?
I couldn't. I mean, when my gallbladder attack happened, they thought I was having an aortic dissection. And it was like very sudden onset pain.
And your iliac dissection.
Yeah.
The longer, and you said something along the lines of, the longer you're in the hospital, the worse the outcome looks, statistically.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's with VEDS, like, things just have a tendency to cascade. And the fact that, like, more and more kept happening, and I don't know if it would have happened if my pain had been under control for that one event, and I'll never know. Like, I'll never know whether it was because my blood pressure was high and my pain wasn't under control, my body was under an intense amount of stress, versus it was just VEDS and this is the way it was going to go. But I really, really, like, deep in my gut, I believe that if my pain had been under control and my blood pressure had been under control, that I wouldn't have had an iliac dissection. Like, my body would have calmed down earlier. But we don't know.
Science will never know.
No. After I left the hospital, I think there was like a week or so. I didn't hear very much from you. I think I went to your house and I think you were cleaning your garage or something. And I remember asking your wife, like, how's he doing? Because at this point I knew from our experience in October that you are a person who handles emergencies with a lot of panic calm. And then you feel it afterwards, which is also how I tend to handle things. So then I was like, okay, now here comes the hard part for Jake. What was that like for you?
Oh my God. This is the hardest part to talk about.
Yeah, take your time.
And I think at some point I had to go home. Right. And I just remember on that drive home, I don't remember how long it was. I just remember it was dark. Nope. No feelings. Go away, feelings. It was dark. And Melissa was driving. And I just... Feelings. I wrapped my arms around her arm in the truck. I just sobbed the whole way home. And I don't know how long the drive was. But it was just letting it all out. Which is not something I'm used to doing. Because in that moment, I'm still in the fire drill, right? Like, Katie needs support, right? I gotta not have feelings right now. Just like right now. No feelings right now.
You're allowed to have feelings, right?
I'll have feelings later. So that drive was just awful. I mean, it was good because I got some out, right? Mm-hmm. But it was awful because everything plays in your head, right? Mm-hmm. You're still in the hospital, right? Or we finally got your pain under control. You can decompress, right? And everything starts playing in your head. She's in the hospital again. When can she get out? When can she get out? When can she get out? Mm-hmm. Right? Because she said the longer people are in the hospital with veds, the worse the outcome. When can she get out? Mm. Right. But once you did get out, I don't usually consume alcohol, but I consume some alcohol. And it's not a lot. I'm a bit of a lightweight. So I had a beer, mm-hmm. and I just went to town on my garage. And some people think, cleaning a clean garage, right? No, I live out in the country where garages have so many years of what the hell were you thinking installed in the garage. Mm-hmm. And so I'm in there with hammers and drills and I'm just throwing stuff around, right? This doesn't need to be in here. I hate this. I'm going to throw it away. And I had a 40-yard dumpster at my house at the time. Mm-hmm. And I was just ripping cabinets off the walls. I was ripping shelves off the ceiling. The garage was spick and span by the time I had processed my feelings. But I was buzzed the whole time.
Yeah.
Right? Which I never drank.
Right.
And I was like, beer, hard work, beer, hard work, beer, hard work, right? And then I wake up the next morning, sore, beer, morning beer, hard work, right?
Wow.
You
had morning beer.
It was a few days of I wasn't consuming alcohol to the point of being belligerently intoxicated, but I needed that to take...
Low-level buzz.
Yeah, I needed that to take the edge off so that I could focus on getting through what I needed to get through. Mm-hmm. And so, it's still, with my wife, this is still a stressful point in time for her. Yeah. Because she didn't have a say where I was putting stuff. And I didn't give a shit. Usually I care. Oh, no. Usually I really care. But in this instance, I didn't give a shit. Yeah. Right? I was moving entire shelves with stuff on it. Right? Like the bread racks. I was lifting that up, putting it on a little furniture dolly and just rolling it around the garage to get out of my way. It was if you apply cartoon effects to this, there was dust clouds. Right? Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so glad nothing happened to you during that time.
If it did, it wouldn't have mattered. I think I got cut and bruised and stuff. It didn't matter. Right. No matter.
So what'd you do after the garage and the buzz wore off and did you stop using alcohol for your...
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just to make sure.
No, it was just 2 days.
Yeah.
2 days of 3 beers a day, which for me is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot for me too.
Yeah.
What was it like after that?
Denial. I'm back. Katie doesn't have veds. I'll never accept it. Right back where I was, baby. Let's go.
Oh, that was so hard.
Yeah. I think it was hard to watch your aftermath. Right?
It was rough this time.
Yeah, it was rough. I think a lot of people were still looking for ways to help. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people just need time. I think in this instance, that was what you needed. Yeah.
There were some things that were really, really helpful. The giving me space was very helpful. DoorDash gift cards. I reached out. I'm actually very proud of myself for telling a couple of my close friends that I was really, really struggling. And I reached out to one of them who's in the community and I just said hey, I know that you experienced some really hard mental stuff after your spontaneous coronary artery dissection. And I don't know how you got through that, but I'm having some really intense depression and I don't know what will help me, And she was immediately well, I can set up a meal train for you. And I have no idea what a meal train is. I just thought people were gonna send casseroles to my doorstep. Not quite sure what that meant, but what ended up happening is that she posted it on her Facebook and told me to do that, which was very hard for me to do mentally, to just say hey, I'm having too hard of a time to feed myself, which was accurate. DoorDash gift cards just started like flooding in. If you're one of those people who provided DoorDash gift cards and you're listening to this, like that was incredibly helpful. Thank you. Like I didn't have to worry about feeding myself. I could order whatever I needed, and it really, really helped a lot. That aftermath was really hard.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can't force it.
No, you just have to let it be what it is. And, there's ways to help, but I knew at the time, like, I needed to get those feelings out. And I just knew that's what I needed. I didn't feel like doing anything. I was super depressed. And what I ended up doing is reaching out to my primary care provider and getting, I knew I needed help, so I was like, I'm already on a low dose Lexapro, can we up it? And like all of my doctor's appointments at this time in my life were just sobbing. Like there was I thought I would be fine to join a call, and then 2 minutes in I'm sobbing because they're asking about how my leg is or how my pain is, and I just couldn't. There was so much feeling there. And I thought a lot about why that is, and like part of me thinks when my spleen ruptured, I knew it was possible that I could die because I had lost half of my blood volume. And there was a day where Peter came by and he was like, you look a little more pale today than you. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, I'm aware of what I look like. I look like I've lost a ton of blood, and I know how real that is. But during that event, I had the medical support that I needed, and I was okay with the outcome, whatever it was. Like, I didn't want to die, but I knew it was possible, and I felt peace in that, and I felt helped and heard. When I asked for spiritual services, the guy came and we meditated together. This time, I didn't get the help that I needed. I got all of the, keeping me alive stuff, which was important, but I asked for spiritual services for several days before somebody came by. I asked for cardiology to get another, an ARB on top of my beta blocker because I could tell my blood pressure was much higher than normal, and I kept saying, please contact my cardiologist. Days. I never saw the cardiologist. I was in the hospital from basically November 4th to November 13th, and I didn't get to see cardiology or get the ARB prescribed until after I left. He just never came. Pain management took their time, and I think that in some ways was more detrimental for my emotional health because I left feeling super betrayed and just totally let down. And there were times in that hospital where I wanted to die. I was in so much pain. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, sedate me, something. It was horrible. And I think that weighed heavier on me afterwards. After the spleen ruptured, I came home and I worked the next day after I got out of the hospital. But this one, it was 2 months before I felt like doing anything. Mm-hmm. So it was hard.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. I don't remember what your question was, but that was my. It was
a great answer because I don't remember the question either. I don't think I asked the question.
Okay.
I think we were just riffing.
Yeah. We're just talking about the whole thing.
Yeah. It was insane.
It was.
To see the whole system fail is insane. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think in this case, it definitely failed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because you live here on purpose.
Right.
Near that hospital on purpose. Mm-hmm. Right? And it's not that any individual failed per se. Mm-hmm. Maybe one or two.
Yeah. I'm not going to name names.
Yeah. But the whole system failed, right? Where was the backup to that first failure of not giving you drugs?
Right.
Right? Or forgetting. Oh, I'm so sorry I forgot to give you pain meds while you're giving birth to a kidney. What? Where's the backup, right?
Yeah.
Where's the resiliency, the system resiliency? And in this case, there was none, right? Mm-hmm. It took, I love the spiritual services guy over at
Me too.
Utah. He's fantastic.
Shout out to Luke.
Yes.
He's
Luke,
great.
You're a blessing. But I don't think anyone asked for Luke until I showed up at the nurse's station counter, which
Yeah.
is the most powerful thing in the hospital, by the way.
Yeah.
You stand there looking awkward, they're going to ask you what you need. I used it a lot. I told them, I was like, we need spiritual services.
Yeah, and I've been asking for it for several days.
Yeah.
Like, can you please call Luke? Can you see if Luke's available in spiritual services? Because he was the guy there for my spleen rupture.
Right. And he remembered you.
Yeah.
It was good, I think, for him to be there.
Absolutely.
For you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after it's been several months now since all of this, where are we now?
Your birthday was hard.
It was very hard. I didn't know you were going to bring up my birthday. Was it hard for you?
Oh my God. I had to take the day off work. Not Wednesday, but I had to take the day after your birthday off.
That was for me. I had no idea that was related to my birthday.
Yeah,
your mental health
that's
day.
why I took the day off. I had just reorganized, and my calendar is insane, by the way. Mm-hmm. I've got back-to-back meetings from 8 o'clock until 5 o'clock, right? There's no room to pee, no room for lunch. Right? That's just a normal day for me. And that day I recognized that I just couldn't, because I was sitting there at the breakfast counter, the counter in the kitchen, and I was doodling on your card, and all these feelings came out, right? And I just sobbed for like 2 hours, and I just couldn't stop. I just kept crying and crying, and I was like, "Go away, feelings. I have work. I have to do work.
Yeah.
I have to go to these 30 meetings that are not important. I have to, right?"
Yeah.
So I took a mental health day. It was really hard.
How serendipitous that on the day that you took your mental health day for my birthday, I take Jon to the hospital for his back, and you're like, "I'll be over in a couple hours."
Yep. I don't know what serendipity means, but okay.
It's like happy coincidence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you texted, you were like, you're like, "Hey, I'm taking Jon to the ER. I'm coming over."
Yep.
And
you said, "I'm going to be your house guest for a few days."
yep, I'm going to live in your basement. I'm going to smell like someone that lives in your basement. I'm going to eat your food like someone lives in your basement, which is what I've done.
It's been great.
Which is why we're in person.
Yeah.
But I did put those feelings aside to come over.
Oh, so we have some more coming after you leave.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got some more that I'm trying to get out.
What are your feelings about my birthday? Why did that trigger it for you? Because I have my own feelings about my birthday.
Don't talk about this.
Okay, let's not.
I will talk about it. Because, I mean, that's why we're here. Feelings. I don't know how much longer I can be strong.
What does that mean to you?
When I reflect on the last year, right? And we've talked about this. I've always looked away, right? And that was my version of strength. Look away, look away, look away. I can't look away anymore, right? It's not right. It's not helping. But to look right at the problem, it's really hard. Because you're my big sister. You're always supposed to be there, right? And last episode we said, that's not true, right? Our parents said we should be best friends. We stopped fighting, we became best friends. Jerks, right? And now it feels like the episodes are happening at a more rapid pace.
Yeah, that's what it feels like for me too.
Yeah. And your birthday, I don't know if there'll be a next one. And I think that's going to be every birthday.
Yeah, that's every birthday for me.
Yeah.
Already. And I was weird about my birthday this year too. And I think I talked to my friends about it, and they were like, I eventually said like, "Hey, I know I'm being weird about my birthday. I just want to feel remembered. I feel like you guys have forgotten that it's my birthday." And they're like, "No, like we've been waiting for you to say what you want to do for your birthday, and we didn't want to put pressure on you to hang out for your birthday." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." okay, I'm so sorry, because I really thought you forgot about my birthday, and I'm just over here like, I really want to be remembered. Like,
Yeah.
I had a hard time, and my birthdays are always hard now. And I think if it had just been the renal dissection and the iliac dissection and everything had stabilized, I would have been like, yay, 35, I made it to 35, woo. But this time, I had that stuff, and then I got hit at a dog park by two dogs running at full speed and really lucked out. Tore my MCL, but didn't need surgery for that. And found out that I have not only that my iliac dissection that I had in the hospital has doubled in size and the vessel itself is growing, like widening, but that I also have a hepatic pseudoaneurysm now. So one of the arteries inside my liver has dissected, and I might end up needing a very scary surgery for that. And all of that, like, it was just a little too much this year.
It was a hard year.
Yeah, and I really felt like on my birthday, I'm like, I really don't know how many of these I have left. And that was the overall feeling leading to my birthday. And then I got really sensitive about my birthday, like who's remembering and who's not, which is just a horrible way to be.
Well, I mean, you're feeling your feelings, right? Like,
Yeah,
people should forgive you for that.
yeah.
Like,
They should do what feels right to them. But yeah, it was hard. Then they did forgive me for that totally. They're like, it was just totally a miscommunication. And they're like, no, we need you to tell us what you want to do for your birthday. And I was like, I need somebody to ask me what I want to do for my birthday.
What do you want for dinner? I don't know. What do you want for dinner? I don't know. Pick a place. Oh, you want Italian? No, I don't want Italian.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's been a hard year. Do you have advice for somebody else going through what you're going through now or what you went through in November?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, day drink and destroy things in your garage. Sarcasm. I mean, it worked for me. It could work for you too. Sarcasm. I think talking to someone is good, right? Which this happened after I graduated from therapy, so...
Did you go back?
Jerk. No, I'm not going back. I graduated. Did you go back to high school?
No, but I did get to see a therapist now.
By the way, that's not how you should think about mental health.
No.
No, I learned enough skills in therapy to self-diagnose and self-prescribe.
Oh my God.
So...
Literally face palming right now.
Yep. So I'm doing the Dr. Jake therapy special. No, I think I need to start facing these feelings for sure, right? And I am. And one of the things that helped me feel feelings is something that I started doing when I was really young, which is writing. And I haven't written in a long time. And going back to that has been really hard because there's a lot of feelings in there. And they gotta get on paper somehow.
Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't feel right when you write it down on paper.
Right.
So you gotta rewrite it on paper until it makes sense. But what I mean by creative writing is not journaling. For me, it's songs and sonnets and poems and stuff, right? Make the words feel the way that you feel them.
Yeah.
So day drink, destroy your garage, and write some poems.
All right.
That's my advice right now. It's great advice. I mean,
mostly.
On the next episode that I'm here, I expect to have better advice.
Yeah.
Because I'm just still trying to work through that denial, right? And face reality, I guess.
I think one of the things that helped me afterwards was journaling. I was never really into journaling, and then I joined an artist group, and they were doing this like Artist Way book, which is like a 12-week program, and it includes daily writing in the morning. And I didn't end up doing a lot of the exercises. What I did end up doing is writing down all of my feelings.
It worked.
And it worked, and I started doing things I really enjoy, and it was helpful. So I hope that it helps you.
Yeah. I mean, that's my self-prescription.
And I do have to say, like you said, you don't know how much longer you can be strong. And a little bit about how hard it is to face it. But I also, you're here, you're hanging out. Like, we're doing another podcast together. And despite those feelings, you are still here, engaging and having fun. And I think that's important.
Well, let me tell you what strong means.
Okay.
Strong means ignoring it, going to work, working harder, to continue working, right? Until the world around you has changed. And that's what I mean.
Yeah, I think that maybe one of your journaling exercises could be to reframe the word strong.
That's what I'm going through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is strong, what you're doing now.
This hurts.
But it's strong.
Through therapy, I learned that you can have two feelings.
At once.
It can hurt and you can be strong.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love you.
Oh, I love you too. There was one other question that I wanted to ask you, but I forgot it.
Well, that's very helpful.
I mean, this is what it's like on my show.
So we'll be back for another episode of the Jacob Frederick Show at some point.
Part 3. It's a freaking trilogy.
Right. I mean, I almost think I enjoy this so much that I would like to do an episode with you every season as kind of like a check-in, like, how are we both doing with this?
That's some commitment.
Yeah. So you don't have to commit to that. But.
Oh, I'm committing.
Oh, okay, cool.
Absolutely.
That's so strong of you.
I'm so strong. I'm like so strong. I can handle anything.
Your eye rolls are so funny.
Yeah, I'm definitely rolling my eyes real hardcore right now.
Oh, this has been good. I cannot express enough, like, how deeply grateful I was that you were there for this.
Yeah.
That was one of the worst experiences in my life.
I would not have been anywhere else in the world.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Feelings.
By the way, when we were in the hospital together, something we didn't really talk about is to keep spirits high. Right? It's really easy to get bogged down and get distracted by all the pain.
Yep.
Right? But we were telling jokes.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You have a new teddy bear, more jokes. I think we came up with some pretty good jokes.
I don't remember what they were, but I remember laughing a lot.
Yeah, we laughed a lot.
Through vomit.
Yeah, I think...
There was just constant sarcasm and, like, it was just helpful.
Yeah, it's helpful. Yeah, I remember when somebody was trying to take your blood pressure and you were dry heaving. Good luck. I remember telling you a joke, and I don't remember what it was. But for that 20 seconds needed to take your blood pressure, you were calm again, right? And then you looked at your blood pressure results, and you're like, oh my God, it's high.
Please call cardiology.
Yeah, well, that was the cardiologist that was doing it.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Cardiology never came while I was in the hospital.
Oh, it was that other one. It was a doctor.
It was a doctor.
Yeah, white coat doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a friend of another doctor.
I don't know who it would have been.
I don't know names. I just know some doctor came by and took your blood pressure. I was upset because you weren't getting the help that you needed.
It was a doctor.
Doctor.
Yeah. How do you want to end this episode?
Bye.
No, that's how we end our other podcast.
Oh. So last episode, I think we ended it by me telling you how proud I was of you. And I want to do that again. If I could make it through the words. I thought I was done learning from you when we became adults. Obviously, right? You're a freaking adult now. You know everything. Just like when you're 12. Or 13, probably. You don't know everything until you're 13. But the hospital visit this trip was... I learned so much about your resolve and your strength, the real strength, that I was just immediately blown away. To be heaving in pain, suffering, howling, screaming, and to be managing your own fucking care is insane. Insane, right? There's no one else on the planet that I can think about that would be able to do what you did during this trip. So, I mean, keep it up. I hope you don't need to.
Yeah.
Now I know more words. I'm gonna fuck them up, but I know more words. So hopefully next time we have a trip like this, I can be saying the wrong words. You can be correcting me instead of trying to guide your own care.
Thank you. I don't know if you know how much that means to me. Come over here, about to cry.
No ablation. And you could shout, it's
Bolus.
called bolus. And I could say, she did well on Dilaudid. Because I know that word.
You don't know how much I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Knowing that.
Feelings.
Yeah, feelings. Knowing that someone could step in.
Yeah, I definitely want to be trained in that.
Because it was really hard.
Yeah. No one should have to guide their care in that situation. Mm-mm. And that's where I was just, I hope to play that role.
Thank you.
I mean, I hope we don't.
I hope we don't ever have to do this again.
Right. Like, you know, we're 80 years old, we just fall over dead. But.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
Wouldn't it?
I would love to live till 80.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway.
Thanks, Jake.
Just kudos again. You're slowly becoming my idol.
Who knew in your 30s that your sister would become your idol?
Your big sister is still your big sister, right?
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jake.
No problem. All right, bye.
Bye. Love you.
Love you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Jacob Frederick Show with my brother, Jake. If you're ready to meet others, get involved, or you need support, there are links for you in the episode show notes, and there's always events going on all around the country. Quite a few people I know are heading to Portland, Oregon for the symposium next weekend on May 11th, and of course Reds for Veds Day is shortly after that on that next Friday, May 17th. There's also a link in the episode show notes for the VEDS Collaborative Natural History Study, a research study led by Dr. Shireen Shalhoub, open to people with VEDS, Marfan, Loeys Dietz, and similar connective tissue conditions. If you like this show, be sure to share it on social media or give it a rating or review. Reviews really help. You can also support the production of this podcast by joining my Patreon. As always, my top tier patrons are listed in the episode show notes. This concludes this season of Staying Connected, and a special compilation episode about emotional recovery will be coming out soon. If you want to be on the next season of this show, there is a link in the episode show notes to get on the pre-interview calendar. I'll be starting the interview process for next season in May. See you soon.